Hello guys, welcome to a new video on Tower of God New World, and this video will still be about the exclusive equipment, but we're going to talk about the green element. Again, I will be giving you guys a general overview of the element and which units to prioritize, and then we're going to go over all the units one by one. So first thing to mention is that this element actually has fewer units compared to all other elements if we are to exclude the collab units. So if you did not pull for the collab units and you started playing the game after the collab already ended, at that point you would have way less units than other people have. So I would say this element is overall weaker than the other two, but this element has one unit that really is carrying the whole element on its own, and that unit is Zahard. That guy is a monster, is an SSR plus unit, and you have to get him to 3 red before he really starts to shine and you can use him as a main DPS. You mainly need 3 red, not only for the scaling on his special skill, but also for the effects that all 3 red, like the 3 red can give you, which is additional damage against the element you are strong against, so in this case blue, and that's really important. I also have a video coming up that I'm preparing where I will show you guys how elemental advantage actually works and these 3 blue and 3 red effects, how they actually impact the damage, because it's not that clear when you look at the effect written in game. But yeah, I was just digressing here. So, as I said, this element is basically carried by that guy. So, your priority for this element would be invest in Zahard up until 3 red. You might want to do it even if you're not planning on building a green team, just because that guy is not limited to green. You can put him wherever you want. Without 3 red, he is a great tank and you will use it for that for most of the time, but I would recommend starting to build towards his 3 red as soon as you can. You don't need more than that. 3 red will be enough, and then you can just start destroying enemy teams, enemy blue teams specifically. So really good unit. If you do not want to invest on him that much, or you're just earlier into the game and you still want to play green, I don't recommend it. But you can do that. There is an SSR that's definitely great, has a main DPS, and she's Child Endorsi. She's not as good as the other SSR carries, in my opinion, due to the fact that she doesn't have damage reduction in her kit, and she's just a close range unit as well, so not really the best mix. She's definitely great, she can work fine, but she struggles a little bit at pushing high deficits. So she is your main option, I would say. I don't really see anyone else that could take on a role as a main DPS. So yeah. The other option you have is still an SSR plus, unfortunately, and she is also a collab unit. So uh, if you didn't get enough copies of her to at least take her to 3 red, I wouldn't bother with her at all. If you have her 3 red, it kind of performs similarly to a Child Endorsi. She has the advantage that she's ranged, so she's not going to take as much damage as Child Endorsi, so she can survive a little bit longer. But still, not the greatest carry of all. Still, she can still do a great job, and she's awesome against bosses, so that's definitely a plus. So to recap, your main focus is going to be Zahard for the exclusive equipment if you have him at 3 red. Otherwise, it's going to be either Child Endorsi or Rachel. You will still want to build one of those two anyway, right after Zahard, even if you had Zahard at 3 red. They definitely help, so sure. If you want to go for a full green team, go for it. One of those two will be perfect. Your next unit in the list will be Lozeal. She is the only support that this element has, the only healer, and she's also an elemental buffer. So really great unit overall. She's pretty solid. She has a downside, which I'm going to mention once we talk about her. But yeah, overall, your next best choice. After her, you don't really have much else in this element, unfortunately. You could go for a Yeonhee if you pulled for her in the collab. Otherwise, you really don't have many options. Yeonhee is still cool. She has some crowd control. She's a support on paper in theory, but not really. Her kit is not that supportive. She just has one crowd control, then she has magic resistance shred and green element resistance shred. So pretty fine, but she's not really supporting the team. She's not providing like barriers, HP, damages reduction, nothing. Just some crowd control. To me, she's more of a mage than anything. She can also deal some damage, nothing too crazy, but yeah. Those are your options, I would say. So we can start going over them one by one, and we will start with Child Endorsi, which is again the main DPS option you have if you want to go with an SSR. She is really great. Her exclusive equipment is weird, like for the plus 20 plus 30, and I'm going to say why in a bit, but her plus 0 and plus 10 are just going to buff the active skill she has that just turns her basic attacks into AoE basic attacks, which is actually quite cool. She's going to get a lifesteal from it, which is nice. And she's also going to get a barrier based on the HP lost at the time of activation, which is again a really good buff. She can make use of it, but unfortunately not having damage reduction in her kit, that's not going to be that impactful and is not going to help her too much. Still, it's way better than nothing, and it can help survivability quite a bit. Plus 20 and plus 30 are weird in the sense that her passive is actually hard to trigger in Adventure because she requires the target enemy, which basically when she dies, she will apply a debuff on an enemy, and that enemy will have defense decrease, which is actually really, really good. If that enemy was already at below 40% HP and the snake from her passive hits her, that enemy is going to die and she's going to revive immediately, which is cool. But if the enemy was above 40%, then someone else from your team will have to kill that unit for Endorsi to revive, which is most likely not going to happen unless you have a Zahard built, and even then is not that reliable because I think the time is like 8 seconds or so not that long. And yeah, I'm not sure that's really worth it overall, like the plus 20, plus 30. With her being a main DPS, you kind of want her to plus 35 anyway, so sure, you're going to get both of them, like just due to the fact that she's a main DPS, but other than that, they are not that impressive. Next is Edin. This guy is similar to Quant from the blue team in the sense that is relying on evasion a lot. And I don't really like that kind of concept because once you get hit, you're probably going to die in adventure at high deficits. So not really that needed. And yeah, in general, his exclusive equipment is just getting additional crowd controls and some debuff immunity, that's cool. And the most important is probably the plus 30 that's going to grant swiftness from his special skill, even if it doesn't kill the opponent, which is great because his evasion scales off of his swiftness, so you need every bit of swiftness you can get. But again, not that useful in adventure mode. Could be helpful in PvP. I wouldn't see him in boss fights, probably. Yeah, doesn't seem good. So, guys, just avoid him entirely. That's my suggestion. And I wouldn't recommend evasion type units. There is only one that's good, and it's also in this element where I'm going to mention him, but other than him, really no one else. Then we have Laure here, this guy with a pillow. So he could be a viable option as a sub DPS. I don't see him being good as a main one, but as a sub DPS after the recent buffs, it could be viable. He has okay, like sustain, he can survive, he has a nice shield, which is quite huge. He has HP and energy recovery. He is like close range, so it's kind of strange. He's a mix between ranged and close range, so strange. And I can see him deal a lot of damage, but I don't think he's consistent enough to be used as a main DPS. So yeah, if you want to build him to support China Endorsi a little bit until you build up your Zahard, could be an option, but I don't know. Again, his exclusive equipment is nothing that crazy, but due to the fact that he's a DPS, you still want as many stats as you can get, so you would probably end up maxing his exclusive equipment just for that reason. In general, it's just going to boost survivability and give him a little bit more energy while he sleeps. Nothing that important. And when he removes the barrier, he's going to get energy and HP back at least plus 30. Again, fine, nothing too groundbreaking. You could probably stop at plus 20, but yeah, since he's damage dealer, take him to plus 30 if you want to use him. Again, wouldn't recommend it, but you can definitely do it and it will do a good job. Next is Lozeal. She is the only support, again, as we said. And the main downside that I said before, but I didn't mention what it actually was, is that she is actually a sort of mid-range unit. She's a girl with a wand that is dumb enough to go close range against the opponent for some reason. So not that close range, but she's not ranged. So it's strange. And she's going to often get hit, and you might have to retry the stages multiple times, only because she's just going in the face of the enemies and dies randomly. So I don't know. I mean, not that I don't know. She's a great unit because she's your only option. She is the green element buffer. She's a great healer and everything, but like her survivability is lacking just by the fact that he's stupid. So yeah. Anyway, still your best support for the green element, and you definitely want her build. Her exclusive equipment is just boosting her healings overall with a plus 0 and plus 10, really great. Plus 20 is removing debuffs, also helpful. And the plus 30 is increasing the duration of this special skill by 3 seconds, and that is also a skill that heals AoE, so really important. I would say a plus 30 is recommended for me. Obviously, due to her being a support, give priority to the main DPSs first, but she's definitely has a great exclusive equipment. Next is Miseng. She is also a weird unit. I would never recommend her other than maybe in some PvP scenarios. In adventure, she's not going to survive long enough. She has some kind of mechanic to counter ranged units, but I think that's not enough to like uh, bring her like bring me to say she's a unit worth investing in. Because other than that, she doesn't really have much. She's good as a counter for ranged units, but that's about it. And I don't know. As a green team, you're mostly going to be facing blue teams, at least in adventure, and blue teams are mostly close range units, so no projectiles to block, making her reflection skill basically worthless, and 3 out of 4 of her exclusive equipment skills worthless for that same reason. So I wouldn't go for her in any case. Her plus 30 is just going to increase the defense in Berserker mode, useful in PvP, pretty much useless in adventure mode again. Then we have Mule Love. So Love, this guy, to me seems actually really decent. I would give him a shot as a sub DPS. To me, he could also be one of the best units in the quant fight. So the mock battle we have every day. That guy has a lot of evasion, and Love basic attacks cannot miss if there are three or less opponents. So that's definitely a plus. You can then get rid of what can I say? Apple and Liron 3 that you normally use against that boss to reduce the enemy evasion and improve your accuracy. You can get rid of those and just put Love and then someone to decrease the resistances of Quant and buff the damage that that Love does. So to me, it could actually be a really great bossing unit for that one boss alone. But other than that, I think in adventure is fine, is ranged, is not going to be hit that much. So really good. His AoE damage is lacking. His passive makes it so he has some sort of small AoE damage when there are four or more opponents. But again, not enough. Is mostly single target. Uh, his whole exclusive equipment is revolving around his special skill, which is the pitching machine, and is not bad. His plus zero is giving swiftness whenever the pitching machine is active, which is fine. His level 2 skill is going to give him energy at the beginning of the battle, so if you have him at full rainbow, he's going to cast the pitching machine really, really quickly, which is also something you want to see. Plus 20 is going to give the pitching machine attack and attack speed increase, which is nice. And the plus 30 is really, really good. That's the reason why it's also mandatory, in my opinion, is this is going to apply the passive to the pitching machine as well. And the passive is the thing that makes his attack not miss when you are fighting three or fewer enemies. And is going to make the attacks AoE with four or more. So overall, really, really good. Then next in the list is Rachel. She's the SSR plus of the collab. She's nothing really special. Again, she's a really good unit. She's probably better than Child Endorsi when maxed. But even then, I wouldn't be as sure. Like, they're pretty much the same to me. Not really that relevant. She's built around crits. She has a lot of crit in the exclusive equipment, both crit rate and crit damage, so really nice. She has a heal in her kit that with the plus 20 is also going to reduce the damage she takes. Again, really a really good addition. Reduced damage taken is always nice, way better than a small defense increase or yeah, better than defense in general, but like comparable to physical and magic resistance, stuff like that. So overall, it's nice, not a bad thing. Her plus 30 is nothing worth mentioning. She's going to heal a lot from her healing skill already, and the 15% of the damage dealt is not that important. And due to the fact that she's ranged, most of the time she will be at full health already when she casts her special skill, so not the most useful like ability of all. So you will still get it because you will want to take this exclusive equipment to plus 35 due to the fact that she's a main DPS, but other than that, nothing really special. Shane is another collab unit. She's also relying on crits a lot, so she has additional crit in her exclusive equipment, exclusive crit hit rate whenever the passive procs, and the plus 10, plus 20, and plus 30 are built around her passive, which I don't really like that much for adventure. Again, there is always this distinction between adventure and PvP, because in adventure you will have to face high deficits, so your units will take high amounts of damage and almost get one-shotted. So if you don't have some sort of invisibility or damage reduction, you're not really going to last long. And her passive triggers whenever she goes below 30%, but similarly to Evankel and Kunran, she doesn't have invincibility frames. So if you take a hit from like 35% to 0, no passive proc, you're gone. So I don't really like that much. I would have rather, like if her activation was like 40%, like Kunran by default, then also Kunran with the exclusive equipment is taken to 50%, so even better. But hers is just going to trigger below 30%, then she's going to get healed by her passive. So it's fine, but again, in adventure is not going to trigger, so weird. You're going to get 2 demon souls by default, which are the stacks she consumes whenever she uses this heal. She goes below 30% HP. So, okay, with the plus 30, it gets to 3. Again, not useful in adventure, but really great in PvP actually, to be honest. So yeah, PvP is fine. Then you get at plus 20 additional HP recover from her passive from 40% to 50%, max HP, which is fine. So overall, for adventure, I wouldn't recommend her. For PvP, probably yes. Then we have Yeonhee. She's one of the most versatile units in the collab we have. So she's a support, but she acts like a mage basically. She has one good crowd control skill, and she can shred magic and green elemental resistances. So actually pretty nice addition to boost your overall damage. The like she doesn't have many problems. She's fine. Her kit is okay. Her exclusive equipment plus 0 doesn't really mean much to me. It's just going to extend the explosion radius of her basic attacks. Probably instead of hitting one enemy, she could hit 2 a little bit more reliably, but I wouldn't count on it anyway. Her plus 10 is going to increase the HP she gets back whenever she takes fatal damage. So from 400% to 500%, quite nice, but not that important. Plus 20 is actually cool. You can cast your special skill quite early into the game, basically immediately as soon as the game starts. So you can proc the magic resistance shred before some of your other damage dealers that are also magic damage dealers do their own. This is only helpful like if you're playing with the Rachel here, because Child Endorsi is physical, Zahard is physical, Mule Love is physical. So if you're playing with Rachel, it's fine. Laure as well is magic, so okay. But everyone else, not really that important. You can also play her with different elements. You are going to lose the green element shred utility, but you can still make use of the magic resistance shred. Then her plus 30 is good if you're investing in her, even if you're not actually, because the Dream Call is just the skill that's AoE and puts enemies to sleep. So definitely plus 30 could be helpful. If you invest on her, she could also deal a little bit of damage, not too much, to be honest. So just bring it to plus 30, I would say, after all your other units are dealt with. So next up is Yuri. Uh, she's just, I don't know, she's a tank, but she doesn't have that many reductions in damage, etc. I don't want to go into more detail because I will talk about her more in the tier list video. I'm always talking too much about units here. I should just focus on the exclusive equipment. So the exclusive equipment is just going to buffer passive overall. You get additional barrier coefficient. You get HP back whenever the barrier is up. When the barrier is not up, you get a defense increase. Pretty much useless. And then you get a status effect immunity when the barrier is up. Overall is fine. She also has some invincibility during her ultimate, her special skill, so it's kind of fine. but I don't think it's that worth investing. I wouldn't bother with her. For PvP, she might be nice, but I think Shane is better in that scenario than her, also as a tank. So I don't know. I wouldn't invest in Yuri at all. Then for last, we have the best unit in the green team and one of the best units in the game, and that is Zahard. This guy has a really, really good exclusive equipment. You don't really need it if you don't have him at 3 red, to be honest. You can just leave it at +0 at the beginning and you won't notice basically any difference. Because if you don't have a lot of investment, you won't really care about all the others. Probably +10 could be worth it even if you don't have the 3 red dot as a hard, just for the additional physical damage reduction. But that would just probably take you from lasting 6 seconds with invincibility to like 7, 7.5. Not really that important to me. Then we have the +20, really, really good. Because Golden Needle is a great skill he has and is also the evasion related skill that I was talking about when I was talking about Edin. And this is definitely going to help a lot in dealing damage, so definitely get it if you have him at 3 red, otherwise basically useless. So the 20 evasion increase is not that important because at 3 red you will already have 200 from his skill, so 20 is not really going to matter that much. But the 5 counter enhances Golden Needle, it's really important because by default is not the 5th, but is the 10th. So this one is just going to double the amount of enhanced Golden Needles you can proc. And that's really huge because that Golden Needle deals a ton of damage and also stuns enemies. So it's a really, really good thing. The more evasion this guy has, the better, because when enemies miss you, you will then go into counter and deal damage. Really, really great. Then the +30 is one of the most busted exclusive equipment skills in the game. Before dying, it will just go up in the air and cast his tier 3 special skill, which is going to hit all the enemies and just deal them a lot of damage. And most of the time, if the units are like all blue teams and they're just like below, like around 30% HP, they will just get wiped out. If you hit the attack, unfortunately, there are still misses, etc. And that will count as your win because this all happens before dying. Then, as soon as it touches the ground, it will die. So if someone survives your ultimate, you're down. But overall, is really, really solid +30 skill. Better for the Zahard in the opposing team in adventure, but also nice for your own. Okay, this was all guys for the exclusive equipment videos. And the next one will be about dupes. I think I will also be splitting that one. Let me know if you like this kind of format, if the videos were a little bit more manageable, now that I'm talking about them element by element. So the dupes one, I will still go with this format because I think it's better. But let me know let me know guys if you have a different opinion on this. And if you liked the video and you found it helpful, please drop a like and subscribe to my channel. And I look forward to seeing you guys in the next video. Bye.